What's up, you guys? Welcome to the Snake Eater Company. I am Jesse, aka Snake Eater, and today we're going to be giving an overview and some of my thoughts on the brand new, hot off the press, just started shipping VIRPIL Mongoose T50 CM2 base. The first generation Mongoose T50 base was released roughly 2 years ago, and it was very popular. It was capable of running high tension springs. You could run extensions on it, and is still in many people's sim pits. But it did have a couple of problems, and VIRPIL has now decided to release a second generation of this base to fix those problems and improve upon this already extremely popular design. This base is VIRPIL's premier, marquee, #1 top of the line base. As you can imagine, it is priced to match. The price comes in at $325 US, which is pretty hefty considering it doesn't include a grip, it doesn't include desk mounts, which you are sure to need with this base. That price puts it roughly $135 above their Warbird base. And whether or not it is worth the upgrade from the Warbird, we'll get into a little bit later. In the box, you're going to get the base. You're going to get 3 additional cam sets to make 4 total different cam profiles you can use. 3 different spring tensions, 2 plus the default that's already in the base, and you get the cable. What you don't get are any tools to work on this thing. So I recommend having a 2.5mm hex wrench handy when you get this thing. The gimbal itself is made out of aircraft grade duraluminum, and it shows. You crack it open, you look at it, it looks like it might have been pulled straight out of a small aircraft. It is very overbuilt, and it is a confidence inspirer. Another standout feature is its on-the-fly adjustable axes pretensioners. You can increase or decrease the resistance that you're getting from the stick with just a flathead screwdriver. You don't have to open up the entire base housing. You don't have to swap out the cams necessarily. You don't have to swap out the springs necessarily. All you have to do is turn a screwdriver a few rotations and you've got more tension or less tension. And like all VIRPIL bases in the past, it is compatible with VIRPIL grips and Thrustmaster grips. Let's dive into the different configurations that you can set up with this base. It comes with 4 different sets of cams. So that's going to include your aviation soft center, your aviation no center, your Cosmo soft center, and your Cosmo no center. In addition to the cams that come with it, you've got 3 different springs, a light, a default or medium, and a heavy spring. Adding to those already many permutations is the amount of pretension that you put into the springs once they're installed, and the extensions you use on the base. And of course, you can choose from numerous grips offered by VIRPIL and a couple offered by Thrustmaster. When you combine 4 different cam choices, 3 different spring choices, many different pretensions, several different extension lengths, and many different grip options, you obviously can set this thing up exactly how you like it. During my testing of this base, I went through as many different cam and spring, extension, and grip combinations as I can with the gear I have. I ended up landing on my favorite being the default aviation soft center with the default medium spring. I found when you dial up the pretension on the default spring, you could actually get more resistance than the heavy spring. I don't know if that's special spring physics or what, but that was just my findings. I also prefer to use as long an extension as I can. I feel that it gives me much finer tuned control over my aircraft or ship, whether I'm in DCS, Digital Combat Simulator, or whether I'm in Star Citizen. Even though the aviation soft center and medium spring were my favorite, there were no cam sets or spring combinations that I didn't like. All of these cams are nice and tight, and the character just changes slightly in the direction that you're trying to go with that particular cam. Form factor of this base is fairly tall when you compare it to the Warbird, for example. So I think putting it on top of a desk with a base plate, for example, is going to make it uncomfortable to use, unwieldy. Especially if you choose a grip like the Mongoose T50 grip, which is already a tall grip, you're going to be reaching up much higher than you would with other combinations. Additionally, if you're mounting a stick base on the top of a desk, you're probably not looking for extremely high amounts of resistance because you've got less leverage when they're up this high versus down low or in the center. So that means you're going to need a desk mount. Luckily, VIRPIL happens to offer desk mounts in 2 different sizes, and they are easily the most affordable desk mounts on the market, even with shipping from VIRPIL. The other accessory worth picking up with these MT50s are extensions. Now, you can get them in 3 different flavors, 50, 75, and then 100. If you're getting a base like this capable of high resistance loads, I say just go with the 100mm. If you're buying this base, you're already planning to mount it on a desk mount. If you're putting it on a desk mount, it's going to be low enough for you to comfortably fit a 100mm extension, and that's going to give you a much more realistic feel, and it's going to give you a lot finer tuned control over your aircraft or your spacecraft. Let's get into some comparisons. If you're going to spend $325 on a flight stick base, the natural question would be, is it worth that much extra money over the other options VIRPIL offers or other options other manufacturers offer? Let's start with the VIRPIL Warbird. The VIRPIL Warbird is about $135 less expensive, and it is a smaller, shorter rather, footprint than the MT50, and it is in its own right a very well built base. It is still all metal internals. It is still capable of changing out cams for a profile that you like. You can change out the spring tensions in it, and you can swap out grips on it. So there are a lot of customization options for the Warbird. So the question is, why would you go up to the MT50? In my opinion, it would be for higher levels of resistance. I think that if you were dialing back the resistance on your MT50 to have no center and very low resistance spring tension, I think you're going to be fine with a Warbird. I think the Warbird is capable of a great feeling experience with very low tensions for things like space sims, Elite Dangerous or Star Citizen, for example. Where the Warbird falls short is when you want to push extensions up past 50mm, especially if you're using a Thrustmaster grip, which is all metal and much heavier than the VIRPIL grips are. Another option you could look at would be VKB. It is roughly $515, but that is because it comes with a grip. They don't sell it on the website, but you can probably contact VKB for a grip directly and save some money. You'll be giving up the ability to use any of VIRPIL or Thrustmaster's grips on that base though. And you could always pick up a Thrustmaster Warthog grip and base combination. They don't sell the base by itself, but it's about $165 for the grip and the base together. So it's quite a bit less expensive than the VIRPIL MT50. Okay, my final thoughts and impressions on this VIRPIL MT50 CM2 base. It is a beast. This thing is overbuilt. The kind of punishment you would have to give this thing to break it would be more than any other base out there could tolerate. So if you're looking for something durable, this is one of the best, if not the best options available for your money currently. So how does it feel to fly with this thing? I love the way this thing flies. It gives me so much more fine-tuned adjustability than even my Warbird did, which is saying something. I had a great time testing all of the options that this base provides you. Being able to change the tension, the resistance of the base on the fly is almost too many options. I found myself monkeying with it over and over again, but it gave me that really, really perfect balance that I was going for once I had the cams that I wanted in there. Again, the configuration I settled on were the aviation soft center with the medium springs cranked down almost to the stops on the pretension and a 100mm extension. I did throw on the Thrustmaster Warthog grip onto a 100mm extension with the same configuration, and it's pretty interesting how much the feel changes with the center of gravity going up that much, because the grip is made out of metal. It felt a lot different, but the base was fully capable of running that combination. I can easily say if you are a Thrustmaster Warthog grip user, you're gonna love slapping that thing onto this base. Swapping out the cams and springs is a little bit easier than on the Warbird. It's not like you don't have to use a hex wrench, unscrew some screws, etc. But it is faster and easier than the Warbird. You don't have to take the entire case off of the base. You can just take one plate off and unscrew the pretensioner screws and you're in. The base still does not have a dry clutch. It's a feature that the VKB bases have had for some time, and it's a feature I would love for VIRPIL to include, especially on their top of the line product. So is this base worth $325? If you are looking for a very realistic amount of feedback, you like to use long extensions, and you like to have heavy springs in your flight sticks, then I think you cannot do better than the MT50 CM2. If you are a space sim pilot that's always shooting for smoother, lower resistance profiles on your sticks, then I think you're going to be better served buying a Warbird and spending that extra money on additional grips, like the brand new Alpha coming out from VIRPIL very soon. If you guys have any other questions that I didn't answer, throw them in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them as quickly as I can. Thank you guys so much for coming by the channel again. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button. If you want to help the channel out even more, hit the sub button. If you want to go game live with us over on Twitch, there's a link in the description below. If you want to get into Star Citizen, there's a referral link below. It'll give you 5,000 UEC free to start the game with when you get started. We've got lots more VIRPIL gear on order. We've got a lot more fun videos in store for you. So be sure to come back often. We'll see you guys for the next video. Peace.